On Friday, the Kansas Supreme Court ruled that the state's constitution protects a woman's rights to an abortion. The lead counsel on the lawsuit says that because of the decision, abortion would remain legal in the state even if Roe v. Wade were overturned. And because the decision was made in the state's highest court, there is no path for an appeal. Genevieve Scott was the lead counsel on that lawsuit and is a senior staff attorney at the Center for Reproductive Rights. Thank you for joining us, Genevieve. How did you convince the judges to come to this decision?
Well, we at the Center for Reproductive Rights brought this case approximately 4 years ago, and we were able to convince the judges to make this decision because we presented them with, I believe, a very strong case about the underlying rights in the Kansas Constitution that all citizens should be able to have. And the Kansas Supreme Court ruled today that all citizens in their state have a liberty right to be able to make decisions about their own bodies and their own lives and their own families, and that women are not excluded from those rights even when they're pregnant.
And you've been on other cases, but what do you find most significant about this ruling specifically?
Well, what's so significant and exciting about this ruling in particular is that the Kansas Supreme Court has recognized an independent right to abortion that is independent from the federal right. And in doing so, they have protected the rights of Kansas citizens, even if Roe versus Wade is undercut or completely struck down.
So how will this decision make it difficult for the state to pass regulations to restrict the procedure if they wanted to?
The Kansas Supreme Court struck down a ban in this case that was completely medically unnecessary and only had political purposes. And what the Kansas Supreme Court did was it made clear that the right to abortion is a fundamental right. And that there is an extremely high bar for the state to be able to pass restrictions that are going to prevent women from being able to access that right.
Do you think we can expect the current restrictions on abortion in the state to change?
Well, there has been an onslaught of restrictions on access to abortion, both in Kansas and in the United States more generally. Since 2010, over 400 bills have been passed seeking to restrict access and chip away at access to make it impossible, practically speaking, for women to be able to access abortion and make decisions about their own bodies. What is so exciting and interesting about what happened today is, as I said, the court recognized that the right to abortion is a fundamental right that will be subject to the most exacting scrutiny, and that when a court considers a restriction on that right, there's going to be an extremely high bar to justify that. That will be very difficult for the state to overcome.
And taking into consideration that Kansas is traditionally a conservative state, what might this decision mean for future cases that deal with this basic human right that you're saying?
Well, what's so important and exciting about this decision is that the court recognized that not just women, but all citizens in Kansas have basic rights to make decisions about their own bodies, to be able to make decisions about their family lives, and to be able to make decisions about their health. These are the same kinds of basic human rights that the Center for Reproductive Rights advocates for in the United States and across the globe. And we are thrilled to see that these principles have been embraced by the Kansas Supreme Court and recognized as part of the basic rights that are due to all citizens, including pregnant women.
Genevieve Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.